and welcome to a podcast episode on student athletes' mental health in an era of NIL and social media. My name is Janai, and today I'm talking to a psychology major at San Diego State University. May you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Anna. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited. My name is Janai Hawley. I am a third-year psychology major, management minor here at SDSU, although I will be graduating a semester early, so next semester will be my last semester before getting ready to go to grad school. I am the VP of Communications for the Women in Sports Club here on campus, and I am also the Student Athlete Development Intern for SDSU Athletics and Aztecs Going Pro.
Awesome, that's super exciting. Yeah, looking at the background of where you grew up, what environment did this whole desire of becoming a sports psychologist basically bloom?
It's always a fascinating topic to me. I knew that was something that I wanted to do. I remember back in middle school, I'd say, I'm going to be a psychologist, I'm going to go study psychology, and that's when everyone was like, oh, you're going to change your mind a million times before you get to college. Nope, I never changed my mind. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. But tying sports into it, I was an athlete. I still like to identify as an athlete, even though I don't play sports currently, but athletics is something that once it's in your identity, you can't really get rid of it. And when I realized that I didn't have to completely give up sports, but I could integrate sports into psychology and become a sports psychologist, I just knew I had to do that. And lucky for me, sports psychology is becoming big right when I need it to be, right when I'm about to finish school. So I'm really excited to get into that field more and explore that more in grad school.
Awesome. And why do you think is it that sports psychology is booming right now?
I think right now our culture and our society is becoming more aware of the impact that negative mental health has on people. So we are becoming more okay with people going to therapy and people talking about their feelings, but athletes are humans too. So athletes need that same amount of mental health assistance that a regular person needs. You know, I have a therapist myself and it helps, but student athletes, they need someone that can connect to them on a more personal level besides the normal issues that people have. Because, you know, what I've noticed since doing more research about wanting to get into the sports psychology field is that as student athletes, a lot of those problems are rooted from things within the sport. And a psychologist that isn't catered to sports may not be able to relate to them or help them through those issues. And then, you know, I feel like most sports psychologists that I have encountered and spoken to were an athlete at some point of their life and can relate to the things that athletes feel. So I know that myself, I know what it's like to be told to suck it up, walk it off, and get over it. It's not a good feeling when that is the reason why you can't make a shot. So you're telling me to get over the fact that I can't make a shot, but I can't make a shot because I'm dealing with something. Let's talk about that. And that's what a sports psychologist needs to do. A sports psychologist has the ability to determine what is hindering performance.
Yeah, that sounds super interesting. It makes a lot of sense. Student athletes are human as well, and they have the same needs, maybe even more specific, applied to their sports than a regular student. I also think it's great that you're able to keep that part of your identity from sports now. If you, as you said, wanting to go into the sports field, what are some goals that you have as a future sports psychologist, and what aspirations do you have for D1 sports?
Yeah, so I think the overarching goal would just fully normalize speaking about mental health. Obviously, it's becoming bigger. It's something that more people are comfortable doing, but it's not something everyone does. And that has to do with because people were trained not to do it, especially as an athlete. As an athlete, you're told to suck it up, you're told to walk it off, you're told to forget about it. Shoot, when I was playing basketball, my coach, his saying was, no one cares, work harder. You went to him about anything and he said, nobody cares, work harder. And that, I think, goes to show what athletes are taught. They're taught not to care about anything but succeeding in their sport, but success in your sport comes from success in your own life. So I think making the environment, especially around me, at least, if I can do anything and I have a personal say in something, is anybody that I come in contact with, make them feel comfortable enough to know that they can come to me if they can't come to anyone else. So being personal, like that is a really big goal that I have into becoming a successful psychologist, because you can't force people to talk about their mental health. But if you become personal with someone, you build those relationships, they'll want to come to you about their mental health. And so the goal is just make it normal. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to want to talk about what's bothering you. And it's okay to be an athlete and not be able to do something because your brain is so clouded that you can't think about anything else except using all of your energy to try to calm yourself down because you have no one else there for you. So just emphasizing that performance has so much to do with the headspace that you are in, because if your ankle was broken, you wouldn't try running on it. So if your mind isn't right, why are you trying to keep going if your mind's not right? Take a step back, figure it out, then go perform to the best that you can.
Yeah, so when it comes to this figuring out, SDSU has done the approach with hiring a sports psychologist, which is especially good for the student athlete's mental health and well-being. How do you feel about this position, and does it encourage you for your future career aspirations?
Having a sports psychologist in this building for the athletes is amazing. As for seeing him in this role, knowing that that's the role that I want to go into, that's beyond inspirational, because sports psychology is just now becoming a big thing. So to see a D1 college like SDSU make sure that that's a thing here, it made my heart happy to know that the athletes here have someone that they can talk to. But obviously we still need to do more work, because yes, Austin's there, but there's so many athletes that still aren't comfortable enough to talk to him. So I think we have to bridge that gap between getting them to talk and them wanting to talk.
Yeah. Coming to that, I feel like a lot of people say social media and NIL is kind of ruining that, putting on the stigma again. You gotta be strong because it's self-promotion. You want to get the biggest deals, you want to show off on social media. What do you think does social media and NIL play as a role as of mental health right now in D1 college sports?
Yeah, so social media in general is something that when it's not filtered and when you don't set specific times to use it, or it's something that every second you're on Instagram or you're on Twitter or TikTok, it's going to mess with your mental health no matter who you are. So even if you're not an athlete, social media is going to mess with your head when the use of it isn't regulated. But for athletes especially D1 athletes, who you can search up their names and they're going to pop up on the web. I can search anyone that plays an SDSU sport and so much information about them will pop up. So as an athlete, you have to really know what to feed into on social media for the benefit of your own mental health. Not everything needs to be read. Every comment doesn't need to be responded to. And sometimes getting off of social media as an athlete after a tough loss or even a win, because you don't know who's going to try to DM you or message you, and you don't know what people's intentions are. So just being able to separate personal social media use from athletic social media use, I think, is a really important way to regulate mental health within social media.
That's great. And I think Austin Alvarez, the new sports psychologist, is definitely going to be able to help also with those things if athletes feel the need to talk about it. Something more about which level that you want to work with athletes on their mental health as a D1 or as a professional. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so when I first started thinking about sports psychology, my head automatically went to the professional level. That's where I started. But since interning here with SDSU Athletics, I've realized more and more that these athletes can't get to that pro level if their mental health isn't helped at the collegiate level. So I confidently can say that after I graduate, I hope to stay in the collegiate level, hopefully SDSU. Just, even if it's not D1, D3, D2, even if it's community sports, anything, just I want to be that person that can help them get to where they want to go, because they're not going to get there if they're not taking care of themselves first.
Yeah, that's really great, and you really have a good perspective on that too. Coming to your hopes and aspirations or just like wishes for the future surrounding student athletes, mental health, and D1 sports, do you have anything in particular that you're just hoping for?
I hope that every single school gets a sports psychologist, not the D1 best schools, not just the schools in a certain county, in a certain region. No, every single school needs a psychologist. There is no limit on when you can start taking care of your mental health. It should start as soon as possible. Just bring the sports psychologist into every team. So if I had to say, in 5-10 years, if there was something that I hope to see, I hope to see that there's a sports psychologist implemented everywhere.
Awesome, that's great. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today and just talking about student athletes' mental health. And I'm super excited and curious how the future is going to look, especially with NIL growing even more and social media presence just being a must at this point for a student athlete.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jenna, for having me. I'm really glad that I was able to talk about this and, spread awareness on the real importance of sports psychology and mental health for everyone.
The music you're listening to is Flippy Trans by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0.